Hey, I'm James Burnham, and today I want to talk to you about why physical activity can improve your emotional well-being. These things are intrinsically connected, and when you begin to identify as someone who takes care of themselves physically, there is just a value from that routine of what you do that transforms who you are visibly. You can see it. And you can take that template of what you have done to your own body and apply it to your emotional space, your spiritual space, any space that also needs help. The cool thing about physical activity is it's something that is easily measurable. I think we sometimes have trouble measuring the change that needs to be taken within ourselves emotionally or mentally, whatever it is that we're dealing with, right? What happens to you when you can't exercise? These are things that really can impact us, right? I was injured pretty severely 3 years apart. In 2010, I had a mountain biking accident in a race I was in where I almost died. I was in the hospital and recovering and just really beat up. And I was able to get through that, rebuild myself, get back into shape. And 3 years later, I had another injury that basically pulverized all the muscle on the right side of my body from here to here, mountain biking again, and torqued my pelvis, and I couldn't exercise. I couldn't get fit because this leg was 3.5 inches shorter. There was so much pain. Everything I did was difficult. I got depressed. Sitting at the beach, I became embarrassed because I wouldn't want to take my shirt off. It was the first time in my life where I had even thought about whether or not I'd take my shirt off if I was hot. I'd go to the beach, I'd get hot, take my shirt off, didn't even think about it. I began to think about it. I noticed I'd be sitting on the beach and thinking, oh, I don't want to show myself because I'm fat, right? Personal shaming. All of this stuff cycles into a place where now I'm struggling to figure out how to get myself going because I can't be physically active. And I know I've had many people say to me over the years, hey man, you're really fit. I wish I could do that. I'm injured. And I understand that roadblock that says to you, hey, I can't do this because this is where I'm at. But what I would suggest is changing that narrative of I can't do this to what can I do? What can I do to improve myself physically? And when you get into that space, you will find that there are some things that you can do that can change. And that little piece of change has an accrual, an effect that will build for you and allow you then to take a template of what you're doing and apply it to where you need it. So the second point, getting in physical and emotional shape. When I started getting back into shape, it helped me realize that I could do it emotionally, right? I started to rehab my body because it was difficult for me to not. I had a life where I was always physically active and I was just like, this is hard. I need to figure this out. And I started going to doctors, doing all the things I needed to do to figure out how to get my body into shape. And as I did it, and as I began to have incremental change over the time that I was doing this, I began to realize I can do this emotionally too. And that's the beautiful thing about any performance principle. It will work in any area of your life. And so the incremental change that you can make in a physical space, you can then apply to wherever it is you're feeling weak, right? That is something that I do in all aspects of my life. And it's something that I have learned from people smarter than me that have done research that talk about these ideas of principles of performance that transcend all categories of life. If you're in this space, right, and you're trying to rebuild, I want you to stick around at the end. And we're going to talk about how exercise can change more than just our physical appearance and abilities. Let's talk about my third point. The third point is meditation. Meditation is something that allows you to learn how to let go of that angst, all of the chaos in our minds. Our minds, when we're born, right, infants, we're born with a mind that is built to survive. Surviving is honestly what most of medical kind of indoctrination is talking about. They're telling you, hey, get to this point where you can survive, you can get by, you can be good. That's not enough. I think most of us want to thrive. Most of us want to live at that next level. And it doesn't matter about the money you have. It doesn't matter about the house you live in. It doesn't matter about any of that. You can be anywhere and you can feel gratitude and happiness and fulfillment once you recognize through meditation that you have control over your mental space, regardless of your situation. And meditation transformed me when I started taking a course. The course was 24 segments that I followed, and I went through it multiple times to just try to learn how to meditate. And the guy in the course said specifically, it's going to take you 6 to 8 months before you see any changes within yourself. And I was like, man alive. But I had been physically working on my body for a couple years to try to get myself back into shape with minimal, very minimal progress, that I would backslide and go up and down. So I was like, well, I'm going to try this. And I started meditating. And in about the 6 to 8 month mark, I was going to Lagoon, which is in Utah, a fairground with all these rides. It's like, Six Flags type thing, or Disneyland. Not quite like Disneyland. It's not like that, but not theme park oriented, but rides that are fun. And my daughter was probably 8 years old, a little girl standing next to me, maybe 6 years old, standing next to me, and we're walking across this street that is the exit for the playground. And as we're walking up, she's on my left-hand side. The traffic is flowing this way toward us. And she's looking at me. She steps out onto the road. And she is almost hit by a car. And I grab her and I pick her up and I yelled, "Go, go!" So angry that she almost did this. And I realized in that moment, this was the moment that I realized what meditation had done for me. I wasn't angry at her. I was scared. And I changed a habitual behavior of how I had been raised in that moment because I had a space between what I was doing and what I was feeling and what I was about to do. And I saw two options: the anger, the frustration versus the real emotion. And I could see it and identify it because I had spent so much time meditating. And I wrapped her up in my arms and I said, "Coco, I'm sorry I yelled at you. I'm not mad. I'm scared. I almost lost you," right? This little moment was real for me. I felt that emotion, right? The real, like it hits me now, a real thing. And she felt it too. She knew I wasn't mad at her. She knew I loved her and that I was scared for having almost lost her. And I said, "You stick with me." And I put her down and she held my hand. My little leg, she's standing by my leg, and we walked across the road, and we had fun the rest of the day. Versus, if I'd have done my habitual behavior, I'd have been like, "Go, you stay with me, we're gonna go have fun," and marched across the street. That's not what happened, right? It was a beautiful moment. And I realized our minds have the power to transform who we are when we meditate. It is so powerful, but it is like a diet. It is like physical exercise. You have to maintain it. Hey, and before we go to the fourth point, let me ask you something. Have you tried meditation? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. The fourth point, if something is true, if it's a real performance attribute, it'll work in every area of your life. Something that only works in one point is just like a little technique. But these things that I'm offering you are things that you can take as a template to put on every space that you feel weak. So if you, in fact, are mentally very strong, but you're missing the physical, take a look at what you do to maintain your mental fitness. What are those habits that you're doing? And take it to the physical and apply it. For me, I'm the reverse, right? I had a lot of physical, I was gifted with a father that taught me all this stuff, and he helped me to be a very physical person. And it's a place that I found joy in very easily, right? My mental, spiritual, emotional stuff needed work. And I was able to take the reversal of that. But all of them are equally important for a full and healthy and joyful life. So where you're strong, is that mentally, is it physically, is it spiritually? Wherever that is, you take that template of what you do with your life and you say, man, I do these things and that's why I'm strong. And it may be so innate to you that you don't truly understand what it is you're doing. But delve into that. And as you delve into that and you see what you do, you take that and you put it where you're weak. So if you're the opposite of me, mentally, emotionally strong, flip it. Put that on your physical and it'll help you, right? So just so you know, on my channel, I have a lot of videos about how to improve your performance in your life and in your relationships and in business. So don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you join me. The fifth point, routines lead to habits. Often We kind of think, oh, I got to start doing this thing. You build a routine that allows your life to build into habit, but you have to start with a simple routine. And exercise models for you what you need to do to change in that aspect of your life. Exercise even mimics what you need to do with thought patterns, and through routines that you develop in that space of exercise, what you do to get up and get going in the morning, and those simple kind of scenarios really change things. For me, when I exercise, I keep actually records of what I do. I lift in the mornings and I actually box at night. And I keep a record of what I'm doing so that I can see my progress. I can see where I slide when I fall off the wagon, because I do. I will fall off the wagon and then I got to get started again. But I have that record, so I always know where I was and where I've been, and I can go back. And when we start to do that, it builds a routine that becomes habitual. You know what? I almost never forget to brush my teeth. It is such a habitual routine in my life that I don't ever forget. But when I was a kid, I would never brush my teeth. It was something that I had to develop and learn. And you can do this by building patterns of behavior that are very simple, small, and incremental. And as you do this, it will transform where you are, and you become more whole and complete in every aspect of your life. So if you want to learn more about self-worth, building your identity, check out this next video that's coming out, how to stop basing self-worth on appearance. Because we're talking about the physical here, but the physical is just one component of who you are. It is not the whole and all of everything. I'm James Burnham. Thanks for joining me.